Most of Week 10 is in the books, and it started back on Thursday night with an NFC South clash between the Falcons and Panthers. The biggest takeaway I had from this game was the Falcons need a new quarterback in 2023. They are now 4-6, and I think any dream of them winning the NFC South is gone. When they were 4-4 and the Bucs were coming off of 3 straight losses to the Steelers, Panthers, and Ravens, it was plausible as long as Marcus could make the plays he needed to. But there was a blatant miss to Kyle Pitts that summarized the frustration of his second season in one play. I love the Falcons' run game, but they need a quarterback. And to be completely honest, I don't think this team is that far away from seriously competing. For Carolina, I loved seeing them run the ball and dominate the trenches. They ran for over 230 yards, and this is encouraging for a rebuilding team. Running the football translates, whether it's 80 degrees or 0 degrees and snowy, competing for an NFC championship. And obviously the Panthers are a long way away from that, but the point of them being a physical team and them averaging 4.7 yards per carry as a team in 2022 is big for their future. We know the Panthers aren't going to make the playoffs this year, but there genuinely is a lot to look forward to in the long run for this team. Seahawks-Bucks was the first game ever played in Germany, and it was a great game between the two teams with the Bucks coming out on top. Tampa's defense played a hell of a lot better in Week 10 than they have in several weeks leading up to this, minus Week 9, and it was a great team win. And I will go on record, and this isn't really a hot take, but I do think the Bucks will win the NFC South, and comfortably. Seattle's run game was something they had to stop and essentially force Geno Smith to beat them, and they did. It was a great game for them in this aspect. The Bucs' offensive line, for as much slack and criticism as they've been given, also played well as Brady was sacked 0 times, and Tampa went 10 of 15 on third down, compared to Seattle's 1 of 9 on third down. Yes, the Seahawks lost, but they're 6-4 and play the Raiders, Rams, and Panthers in their next 3 games and can easily get to 9-4 through 12 games. They're going to be fine, and on top of it, I do think the Bucs are in a lot of ways back. Lions-Bears is up, and the Lions came away with a huge win against a division rival, which makes it 2 in a row for Detroit. They're 3-6, and are they going to run the table? No, but this was a game you could make a strong case. Chicago should have won, but I do want to credit Dan Campbell's Lions for being down but not out. They've won 3 of their final 6 in 2021, and now that they've won back-to-back games, it wouldn't surprise me if they finish with 6 or 7 wins this year. A road come-from-behind win is not something you hear from the Lions really ever, but this is a big confidence builder. For Chicago, Justin Fields is the guy. Get him weapons. It doesn't matter how or who, just get him legitimate weapons. He is a unit, and this week showed it again. The first big game he had a few weeks ago, you could have said, okay, whatever, it's one game. But the Bears, yes, the Chicago Bears, have put up 124 points in the last 4 games, 31 points per game, and Justin Fields is here. The Chiefs beat the Jags 27-17, and Trevor Lawrence is getting better as the season goes on. He finished the game 29 of 40 for 259 yards and 2 touchdowns, and even added 26 yards rushing. Like with Justin Fields, get Trevor some help. Christian Kirk is a good receiver, and this isn't a shot at him because he is playing good. But Zay Jones and Marvin Jones as your wide receiver 2 and 3 in 2022 is not an ideal situation. Trevor looked good on Sunday, and it is starting to show in a big way. For Kansas City, they took care of business, and Mahomes feasted on a young defense. KC spread the ball around through the air as 9 players had receptions on the day, and they took care of business. Generally speaking, the Chiefs do not lose games like this, and Week 10 was no different. Saints-Steelers is up, and Saints fans, I don't have a lot of positive things to say. Last week I said for the Colts to fire Frank Reich because there's no point in prolonging what you know isn't working. They fired him the following day, and I am officially calling for the same thing for Dennis Allen. He's 11-34 lifetime as a head coach, and they put up 10 points in Pittsburgh and have just 23 points in their last 2 games. They have back-to-back double-digit losses, and they're 2-7 since opening day. It's time. And unfortunately, the going all in for this only stings worse. Really, the only positive is the sooner the Dennis Allen era is over, the better. For Pittsburgh, TJ is back and Najee might be as well. This was a game they desperately needed, and the Steelers are 2-0 when TJ Watt plays this year. Kenny also didn't make any costly mistakes, which is huge. There's going to be growing pains with a rookie quarterback, and that's fine. And that's especially fine in a home double-digit win. Texans-Giants time, and we know the Texans are a rebuilding team. However, I think Dameon Pierce especially is a long-term building block, but Nico Collins may be as well. I loved Nico coming out of Michigan, and he had a big touchdown in this game. This year is about getting better for 2023 and beyond. Kenyon, Derek, Dameon, Jalen Petrie, and everyone else. Just get better. The Giants did something every Giants fan has been hoping for a while now, and that's bench Kenny Golladay. Kenny has been very disappointing as a free agent signing, and the one drop specifically showed it. You guys know the drop. Daniel Jones has also earned a contract extension and has been playing well in 2022. At minimum, he deserves the next 2 years, but in a lot of ways, the receiving unit limits what he can do. I mean, it would limit anyone. Saquon is a beast, which everyone knows, and I really, really hope Darius Slayton is on this team next year because he can be a very, very exciting player. Broncos-Titans time, and credit the Broncos defense for slowing down Derrick Henry and forcing Ryan Tannehill, who was banged up entering the game, to beat you. Henry had 5 straight 100-yard rushing games entering Week 10, and they held him to less than 3 yards per carry. I have been critical of Ryan Tannehill on the channel before, but this game was a huge game for him, and he led them to victory over a very good defense with a 255-yard, 2-passing touchdown game. Also, my guy Chig Okonkwo had a huge play, and you love to see it. Get him the ball more. Denver, unfortunately, you guys have heard it all, from let's cry, let's ride, let's rebuild, let's whatever. And as much as people want to shit on Russ, this game was not on him the way we have seen other games fall more on his shoulders. He was sacked 6 times with multiple backup offensive linemen, and Nathaniel Hackett kept calling long developing plays. Bring tight ends in to chip. Call quick man-beating plays. 2 weeks to prepare, and 10 points was the result. I'm sorry, Denver fans, and you guys know this, but from a coaching perspective, this is inexcusable. Cleveland-Miami is up, and this is about as tough of a loss for Cleveland as you can get. We called for firing Dennis Allen earlier in the video, and here too we are calling for the firing of a coach, and it is defensive coordinator Joe Woods. Tua threw for 285 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they averaged nearly 6 yards per carry running the football. Will this change their defense overnight if they fire Joe Woods? No, of course not. But this was awful and deserving of a firing over how bad they looked defensively. On top of it, for anyone who may not know, Cleveland fans, you guys obviously know this, they were coming off of their bye week. For Miami, their offense can compete with anybody. I know I said this in a weekly recap recently, but it's still true, and they very much belong in the same tier as the Bills and Chiefs. Mike McDaniels is a genius, and him calling plays with Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle at his disposal makes this team not only a very fun team to watch, but an offensive juggernaut. Cardinals-Rams is up, and the Rams is short and not pretty. They have no run game, the offensive line isn't good, and they're in a bad situation. I made a video on them this past week detailing a lot of things, and I recommend watching, but when it rains, it pours. Cooper Kupp was injured, and we wish him the best in however long his recovery is. An ugly, ugly day for the Rams. For Arizona, Colt McCoy, when he has a chance, plays well. Not elite or league-altering, but he sits in the pocket and at times throws his guys open as opposed to Kyler's bail and make a Madden-esque play. That doesn't mean Colt should start over Kyler, but this isn't an exaggeration to say Colt does a lot of things Kyler does not, and I hope Kyler learns a lot from this start from Colt McCoy. The Raiders look horrible was a tweet from Jeff Saturday a few weeks ago, and he backed it up. His Colts won 25-20. Jonathan Taylor had nearly 150 yards and a score, and as simple as this sounds, the Colts team looked flat out better than what we've seen the past few games. I realize that's a no shit comment, and they were playing the Raiders, but they looked like they had more energy, more heart, and like they genuinely wanted to be there, and it paid off with a win. I'm happy for them after being clowned all week. Shout out to the coach with the highest winning percentage in NFL history, in Jeff Saturday. For Las Vegas, Matt Ryan had a 39-yard run. A coach with 6 days experience beat your team. Josh McDaniels started his career off hot in Denver as a coach, but quickly flamed out. He's 7-24 in his last 31 games as a head coach. I know it's the first year in his tenure, but at maximum, his last game should be Week 18 of this year. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers won for the first time since early October with a 31-28 win over the Dallas Cowboys. After a few ugly losses, this is one they can build on. At times, Rodgers, especially in the media, will say things like, people need to be better, which to me usually makes me think he's talking about his teammates, combined with his body language portraying, I don't want to be here, and a 15-9 loss to Detroit in Week 9 was really the peak of this. But him tossing a block at the end of the game to help secure the win was big. Them beating the Cowboys, who were supposed to run them over, was big. Christian Watson, a rookie who had dropped concerns, was big. And this was a ginormous win for this team. For Dallas, this was a bad collapse, and they play at Minnesota and the Giants in the next week and a half. Because, guys, Thanksgiving is close. They're 6-3 at the moment, and we will see what this team is truly made of. There was also a game played in Western New York on Sunday afternoon between the Vikings and Bills. What a game. The Bills played a good game as they forced 2 interceptions from Kirk Cousins. Josh Allen was making plays left and right, and they put up 30 points in a home game, which, more often than not, should result in a win. There's no way to spin this type of loss for Bills fans. It sucks to be on the end of this type of loss. And as a Vikings fan, guys, what a win. This was the game of the year, and there's so many things to say here, but this team was down 27-10 with less than 2 minutes to play in the third, and they never stopped fighting. They had truly anything that could have happened to them, and that's not an exaggeration. From a Stephon Diggs catch of a lifetime that, unfortunately for Diggs, was later overshadowed, from drives dragging to everything in between. But the Kevin O'Connell Vikings never gave up. Justin Jefferson had the game of a lifetime. Dalvin Cook had an 81-yard touchdown run. A defensive touchdown happened in the most bizarre way possible. Patrick Peterson had 2 interceptions. This team never gave up, and they won on a 17-point come-from-behind win against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo in one of the toughest places to play. And this team can go as far as they want. And that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.